Before the newspaper, before the pamphlet, before the printing press carried ideas across cities, there was a room, a dark room, full of smoke and argument, where men who could not afford silence came to think out loud. Every revolution in the modern world, the French, the American, the industrial, was planned in rooms just like it, and in every one of those rooms, there was a single black liquid cooling in a ceramic cup. Nobody called it a drug, nobody called it dangerous, but governments tried to ban it, sultans ordered it burned, kings made its sale a criminal act. They understood something that history chose to forget, that this seed, this small, unremarkable, roasted seed, did not simply wake the body, it woke the mind, and a mind fully awake is the most uncontrollable thing in the world. This is Ancient Food Files, a channel dedicated to recovering what was buried, not by accident, but by design. Before you continue watching, please check the link I provided in this video's description. The plants, the systems, the knowledge that sustained civilizations long before modern industry decided it had a better way. If you find what you are about to hear worth preserving, consider subscribing, not for the numbers, for the record. The archive opens here. In the highlands of what is now Ethiopia, in the region called Kaffa, there grew a tree that the local Oromo people had known for generations. They called it bun, or buna, a word that meant, simply, the berry, the fruit of the Coffea arabica plant, small, red, unremarkable from a distance. The Oromo did not brew it, not at first. They crushed the berries with animal fat and rolled them into small pellets, dense, portable, consumed before a hunt or a long march. This was food designed for endurance, a concentrated form of wakefulness carried in the hand. The oral traditions say a goat herder named Kaldi first noticed his animals refusing to sleep after grazing on the red berries. He brought the branches to a nearby monastery. The monks, skeptical, threw them into a fire, and the smell that rose from the flame was unlike anything they had encountered before. They gathered the roasted seeds from the embers, dissolved them in water, drank through the night. That, according to legend, was the first cup. Whether or not the story is true, the knowledge it encodes is real. These people understood the plant, they understood the body, long before any laboratory confirmed what they already knew. The Coffea arabica tree is a peculiar organism. It does not thrive in heat, it does not tolerate frost, it requires altitude, shade, moisture, and patience. It takes 3 to 4 years to bear its first fruit, and yet, once established, it produces for decades, sometimes a century, with almost no intervention. Inside each red cherry are 2 seeds, face to face, protected by layers of pulp and parchment. The seeds contain caffeine, a natural pesticide the tree manufactures to protect itself from insects, a molecule of extraordinary precision. It fits the adenosine receptors in the human brain like a key into a lock. It does not create energy, it simply blocks the signal of exhaustion. The body continues, the mind does not yet know it is tired. For a species trying to survive, trying to think, to plan, to organize in the dark, this was not a luxury, it was a mechanism, a tool hidden inside a fruit. By the 15th century, the seed had moved north, carried by Sufi mystics from Ethiopia into Yemen, into the port city of Mocha. There, for the first time, it was roasted systematically, ground, and brewed as a beverage. They called it kawa, the Arabic word meaning something that suppresses appetite, something that takes the edge off hunger. The Ottomans brought it to Constantinople in 1555. Within a decade, there were more than 600 coffee houses in the city. Men came not simply to drink, they came to debate law, compose poetry, play chess, plan uprisings. In 1656, Grand Vizier Kuprulu banned coffee entirely under the Ottoman Empire. The penalty for a first offense, a beating. For a second offense, the offender was sewn into a leather bag and thrown into the Bosphorus. The drink continued anyway. In England, King Charles II issued a proclamation in 1675 suppressing coffee houses as places where the disaffected met and spread scandalous reports concerning the conduct of His Majesty. The proclamation was reversed within 11 days. The public outrage was too significant to sustain. Even a king could not remove the cup from the hand of a city already addicted to thinking. The question, then, is not why coffee spread, the question is why the story of its origin, The Ethiopian highlands, the Oromo people, the monks of Kaffa, was so efficiently erased. When the Dutch smuggled a single coffee plant out of the port of Mocha in 1616, they did not credit its origin. When the French carried a seedling to Martinique in 1723, beginning the plantation system that would cover the Caribbean and South America in forced labor, they did not credit its origin. When Brazil became the world's largest coffee producer, when Colombia built its national identity on the bean, the name Kaffa, the name Oromo, the name Ethiopia, appeared nowhere in the story told to consuming nations. What cannot be owned must first be renamed, what cannot be controlled must first be made anonymous. The plant survived, the credit did not. Modern science has spent considerable effort confirming what the Oromo already understood. A 2012 study published in the New England Journal of Medicine tracked over 400,000 participants and found consistent associations between coffee consumption and reduced risk of mortality from heart disease, respiratory disease, stroke, and infection. A 2014 meta-analysis in the European Journal of Nutrition identified significant inverse relationships between coffee intake and the risk of type 2 diabetes. Researchers at Harvard School of Public Health have documented coffee's effect on liver fibrosis, Parkinson's disease, and certain forms of cognitive decline. The caffeine molecule, long dismissed as a mild stimulant, has proven itself considerably more complex than that characterization suggests. None of this is new knowledge. It is old knowledge, arriving late to a language that finally has instruments precise enough to confirm it. There is one more layer that history leaves largely unspoken. In the regions where coffee was grown under colonial plantation systems, Haiti, Brazil, Java, coffee became inseparable from suffering. The children and grandchildren of enslaved workers who harvested it by hand did not drink it. They could not afford it. It was exported. Every cup consumed in London or Paris represented labor that received nothing in return. Generations passed. Memory works in the body as much as in the mind. In parts of West Africa and the Caribbean, coffee remained a drink associated not with pleasure but with extraction. Not with the morning ritual, but with the plantation bell. That association does not vanish simply because the plantation is gone. It is carried forward. It is taught without being spoken. The Coffea arabica tree, the original species, is now considered vulnerable to extinction. Climate projections published in Nature Plants in 2019 estimate that by 2080, up to 60% of the land currently suitable for wild arabica cultivation in Ethiopia will no longer support it. Rising temperatures. Shifting rainfall. The very highlands that gave the world this seed, narrowing year by year. Meanwhile, modern coffee agriculture has narrowed its genetic diversity to a dangerous degree. The global industry depends on a handful of cultivars. A single fungus, coffee leaf rust, Hemilia vastatrix, devastated the crops of Sri Lanka in the 1870s so completely that the country abandoned coffee entirely and replanted with tea. The same vulnerability remains today. Scaled to a global system, the wild relatives of Arabica, growing still in the forests of Kaffa, in the cloud forests of Ethiopia, carry genetic resistance that the plantation industry does not. The answer to the coming collapse exists in the place the story began. It always did. The seed did not need permission to survive 1,000 years. It did not need a corporation to carry it across an ocean. It did not need a brand, a certification, or a government subsidy. It grew in thin highland air, in volcanic soil, under the shade of taller trees, patient, bitter, and entirely prepared for a world that had not yet discovered it. The knowledge of the Oromo, the Buna, the fat and berry pellet, the monastery fire, was not primitive. It was a completed technology. Built over centuries, tested by survival, and discarded not because it failed, but because it could not be invoiced. The highlands of Kaffa still exist. The wild trees still grow there, in the places the industry has not yet reached. They do not know they are endangered. They do not know they are the origin of something that woke half the modern world. They simply continue, in the fog, in the soil, in the slow time of things that were never in a hurry to be discovered. If this record should survive, let it say, the knowledge was never lost. It was only ignored, for as long as ignorance was profitable. If you believe some things are worth remembering, subscribe to Ancient Food Files. The archive continues.